Yo, what up, what up? For HYPEBEAST Radio, this is Manny, and this is Soundcheck, a show that looks to discover the origin story of your favorite artists and major players in the music industry. We ask the questions that you always wanted to get answered, and you never know who may pop by. For episode 4, we have Jerome and Sam of DJDS, the legendary Los Angeles-based production and DJ duo. They talk about the LA electric scene then and now, their new album, Big Wave More Fire, working with Kanye West, and share a ton of more stories. Welcome to Soundcheck. We have some special guests. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
I'm Sam.
And I am Jerome.
Nice. So first thing I want to talk about is, I guess, the origin story. When did y'all meet? When did music become a factor in your lives?
Yeah. We met like 7 years ago now out in LA. We had sort of both just moved back there in Jerome's case. We were just trying to get stuff started for ourselves as, producers and DJs, but at that time, aspiring producers and DJs, because we didn't really have much going on. And the place where we first came in touch was at a party that I was DJing, but it really wasn't much of a party because there was literally like 2 people there, and it was at this bar in Chinatown in LA called Mountain Bar. And straight up, there was no one there, but Jerome was one of the 2 people. And so we linked up. He had like heard some of my tracks online. Back then it was all like, SoundCloud, I guess.
Pre-Spotify.
Pre-Spotify.
7
years ago.
Record label.
Nice.
But that's how we met, and we were fast friends. We started hanging a lot after that, and just had a lot of like the same taste. We're kind of going for this, pretty similar stuff, I think, with what we were trying to make.
I'm always curious about like the beginnings, because it's like when you become aspiring to actually doing what you envision yourself doing. How did that jump happen? Where did that jump happen?
I think, we were each kind of doing individual stuff, and then we got together to make music together, and then we were just making tracks for friends to like hear and to DJ out, and we named the tracks the artist DJ Dodger Stadium, because we were working out of Sam's apartment that was at the foothills of Dodger Stadium. But then Sam had a great idea to start a record label as well, to just put out our music and our friends' music. It was called Body High, and that kind of like really started legitimizing things for us, because we realized like, okay, this is like a thing. We could throw parties, we can make merch, we can release our friends, and that kind of, for me, was, looking back, kind of like a turning point into it actualizing into like, okay, this is like a long-term thing, this could be a career. And we just kept grinding, and to this day it's just kind of like the same ethos that was from that time. We like apply it to, even if things get bigger and there's more stuff involved, it's still kind of like that same DIY mentality through and through.
But and also it's just like, when you decide to like quit your other job, because back then, like, I was like working as like a part-time teacher, and Jerome was working at a
self-service dog wash.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So
that I got fired from because I was making beats, and I got a negative Yelp review.
Yeah, but that's how it is. Like that's like for anybody, I think, who's like doing something creatively or just like independently. I guess it's like when you like finally make the call to quit that other thing that's like making your money at that point, and then it's sort of like, well, got to make this work.
Yeah, you got to take the leap.
Yeah.
What's the creative process for y'all? Because I always enjoy, I feel like DIY is like a thing now, but then essentially like what is the creative process for y'all when y'all envision something, whether it's with music, with merch, with the label?
I think like with music, I think the one thing that's, just sort of in our like DNA as producers is sampling. So we're always looking at like everything like that. And, now we do, a lot of stuff that's like way more, sort of formal in structure, and, has, real vocalists and, multiple real vocalists and real songwriting, I guess. Whatever that is.
That's true. That's sampling is real.
We always look at it from sort of like a sampling perspective, so it's just like honing in on one tiny little thing that even if it's like, literally like a syllable or like some sort of like a percussive hit or, anything, just a weird little sound that if we like something enough, it's like you kind of, when you have that like sampling mentality, you can like build, something like big off of that.
And how hard is it, I guess, sampling now? Because I feel like ever since the whole Pharrell situation happened, it's everyone, all my DJs and my producer friends are like, yo, we just go away from that now.
Yeah. We sample ourselves a lot because we'll like start a project and it'll just be like, turn on the mic, Sam will freestyle something, we'll get like some interesting sound, I'll process it real fast on the computer, kind of in a live situation. It's all kind of done live. And so even though it's not sampling from, an old record, it's still like sampling we're taking things out of context. And I think we love just taking things and playing with the context in which you kind of like the final product is heard.
Yeah, like the new song that we have coming out this week that has Khalid and Charlotte Day Wilson, like that started, we were doing a session with Charlie Wilson. We did like a couple different songs, and there was one that we ultimately just ended, it just wasn't right. But there was one line where he was, the line was like, but I'm feeling no pain. And so we had kind of scrapped the rest of the song, but knew that line and the way he said it was just, special. And like, it could be something else. We took that and then restarted something else. But we're always doing that, sort of rearranging like, bits and pieces from different sessions, different days, and just like, figuring out where it's all going to like actually fit.
How did y'all learn how to produce?
I mean, like
messing around on
both
computers.
Pretty just like self-taught, really. But as like so many people are these days, it's like, you get one friend who can show you a couple things, and then you get some YouTube videos that can show you a couple things.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, still learning how to produce. It's never like, it's all, and I think that's kind of important that we've learned is like the adaptability and like kind of staying up on what's going on, and also like pushing ourselves to make things sound different than what we have done previously, because I think staying comfortable is not really our vibe,
One of the things that when I was researching y'all, my friend said you have to ask them about LA rave warehouses. They were like, yeah, these guys had the best scene.
That's tight.
Tell me about, I guess, just that whole scene and everything.
Yeah, I mean, so, like Jerome mentioned earlier, we had a label called Body Hide that we were running when we were, first getting started. And so we started throwing parties for the label, just as ways for us and for the other producers to play. And it was just like, this was only like 5 years ago, really, but in LA at the time, it was honestly just like easier to throw in a legal party at a warehouse and just to get, to rent out a warehouse from some landlord who like didn't care, just set up and do your own party. That was like actually just easier than like convincing a club in Hollywood that you were going to be able to like, bring in X amount of people and they were going to be able to sell like X amount of bottles. So it was just like, it was just like a means to get out and to have shows. And it's kind of like, it was the natural thing to do at the time because it was so available. And other people were doing it too. So it's sort of like built into like, like the nightlife culture in LA, like, friends outside of music would go to warehouse parties and stuff. It was like a part of like going out in LA for a while. But, unfortunately, I mean, I think that kind of stuff always like is cyclical. So it's like, it'll come back sometime and be, I'm sure, an important part of the city again. But right now it's like, it sort of had its run for a little while and then, just ended up getting like pretty cracked down upon on the police and stuff, where it's like kind of in the end of what I can think about it being sort of like the heyday, only like 4 years ago, it's like you'd go to some and there'd like straight up be like police helicopters, like, coming in and like, got, it got really cracked down upon. And, probably for good and bad reasons, I'm sure. But yeah, that sort of faded out. But luckily for us, we did get to be a real, part of that for a while. And it's like when you're playing in that kind of space, you sort of just have like, a real freedom to do like whatever you want. Again, because it's like, it's not a real club and there's no real promoter involved or anything like that. So that, I think, helped us a lot musically and sort of helped how we think now, you know, and it's gone into the production a lot, where it's just like, you know, you just sort of, you know, you're making your own rules. And hopefully it's like, and I always think it's like, you can hopefully hear that like a little bit now, even in the stuff that we do, that's like way more polished. Like there's like something from like, you know, those experiences in warehouses and stuff that's like still in there somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there like a memory that stands out from like, yo, I can't believe that happened? Or
I mean, we threw a really, really fun one outside in the spring once. That was it was actually in like a parking lot behind a warehouse, just like deep, you know, sort of downtown LA. And we, like, the stage was like it was just like a U-Haul truck that we rented and, you know, turned around. And so the booth was like set up in the back of the U-Haul. So it's sort of just this open U-Haul in a parking lot that was enclosed, and it kind of just made this like perfect sort of like outdoor, like hidden courtyard in the middle of all these deserted warehouses in LA.
You could hear it from like blocks away, but you didn't necessarily know how to get there.
And it was pretty confusing to get to, but you know, it was great. Like people figured it out, and it was just sort of like 500 of like our friends and, you know, people who really wanted to be there, because it's like, you know, it's hard to get to. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, that always stood out to me as like one of the best vibes.
when you listen to your old work and you listen to your new work now, what's one of the things that's different or stands out in your progression?
I mean, I think, you know, we've just sort of gotten a lot better, like on every side of it. You know, I think our songwriting's better. Like the ideas are more ambitious. The production's, you know, way better. But it's always like sort of been like the same feeling. You know, I think like we've always kind of been, putting that same sort of feeling in the songs, like at the core. So it's like, yeah, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, but like, I think, you know, we did like our first stuff, you know, is like straight up like techno basically. And that's like, you know, now we're doing stuff that's, you know, doesn't really sound like that, but like for us and like being a producer, like doing like techno and just like sampling shit and like not having to be cleared, like that's like, if we were like a band with guitars, like that would have been like the album that we had like made in a garage, you know, with like a 4-track and just like, you know, done totally ourselves, because that's what it was. But it's just like, it's the producer equivalent, you know? So it was never really like about the genre, I think, for us. It was just like, you know, the means to get it out, you know? And that was just, for us, it was like, that was the easiest and the most exciting at the time.
Nice. How did it feel, I guess, when Kanye's team, I read Kanye's team reached out to y'all and was like, hey, we trying to get in contact with.
I mean, it was insane, man. It's like, you think it's like a joke at first, you know, like, or like, you know, like it just couldn't be real or something like that, you know, but yeah, then you just
I
go up to his house and he's there.
I remember that car ride like it was yesterday, kind of like, I mean, luckily there's two of us, so we could like, I was freaking out, saying, be like, it's going to be chill, man. No, it was cool. And then it's like, you know, we went into that whole process with kind of like no expectations, just open-minded. And like, you know, it was a trip.
What was that process like?
I mean, the first day we met him, I think we maybe thought that he wanted to like sample one of our songs or something like that. And so that's kind of like as far as our expectation reached. But I mean, the first day we met him, within like the first hour of spending time with him, he was just like, I'm trying to finish up this album, which was Life of Pablo, but I think I had a different name at that point. And he was like, I'm trying to finish up this album. Like, you know, can I lock you guys off for a while? Can you, you know, help me just like, you know, knock this out? And we were like, yeah, of course, you know? And then, from that day, it was like literally we just got to work with him and, you know, his whole team and circle and extended circle for like, it was, you know, pretty much 6 weeks, but every single day, you know, until it came out. And we would just go in a couple different studios. Man, it was just insane. I mean, it was like all those guys who work on that, it's just all, you know, it's like the heaviest hitters like in music basically. So it's like, I don't know. It honestly felt like going to like, you know, it's like we just like had gotten to go to like Harvard and like getting, you know, to get like a degree in like dope music. You know? Like, that's like, it was just insane. It was like the, you know, like experience of a lifetime, and we came out, you know, so much better for it, I think.
Nice. And then y'all got to work on multiple tracks, which is like so cool because the album also was like changing as you listen. And so what was that like to be a part of, I guess, not to be a part of it, but him as in the studio, and him just like always like, hey, I may want to tweak this and may want to take this out and stuff like that?
I mean, he's just, I mean, he's the master, you know. It's like he can do it all. And I don't think, you know, no one is like sort of able to have these like sort of larger ambitions and bigger concepts for what he's doing and then just actually carry it out. You know, he knows exactly how to execute it. And I think a lot of the times, like, he's thinking so much further ahead than anybody else in the room that the people, if you're working with him, you don't exactly know what's happening, you know, until it happens. Because he's, you know, he's really the one who's just like, who's leading it all. And so, I mean, for us, like, you know, we sort of didn't even know like why we were there to begin with, you know, and we didn't, it took a moment to, you know, it took a couple days or maybe a week or two to realize like what he had sort of seen in us that was gonna, you know, help his vision for that. But when that clicked for us was just a really, you know, it's a cool moment. Yeah. It's just like, it's cool. And I think he, you know, he does that with other people, and he sort of, you know, he's able to, since he's able to see that and see so far ahead, I think he gives his collaborators a lot of confidence, I think, to really like do their best work, because he can see stuff in people that's like,
they may not see in themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And he can see like what's really like vital about what they're doing, you know, in a way that, you know, maybe nobody else does.
Yeah. Who's your favorite artist to list, I guess, you worked with for the new project you're coming out with? If you could pass a hard question.
Yeah. All of
your some of your favorite, I guess, favorite moments.
I'm making the new album. I mean, we had a great session with this singer, Charlotte Day Wilson, who's on this new single. She's from Toronto, and like we got introduced to her via email. She came to the studio, and she didn't have too much time to come to record or anything, but we just hung out and talked with her. And then she's like, I gotta go in 15 minutes. Do you want to play me anything? We played her the track, and she really liked it, and she just did her thing very, very quickly, very impressively. So that was awesome. But I mean, there's a lot of like interesting highlights for sure.
Yeah, there's like, for me, there's a track, it's called I Get By on the album, and it has Amber Mark and then this guy Vori, and they're sort of just like, I think right now those are like, you know, Vori? Yeah, he's very sick. But those two are probably like, those are just my two favorite singers right now. And I love, you know, both of their voices so much, and, you know, how they can kind of, you know, deliver, and how they write too, you know, they're just like, yeah, they're incredible to me. So to get them both on one track, you know, felt really, really cool. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. We could go person by person, but but no, it was a great process.
I mean, overall, it's like we were just, you know, we got to work with so many cool people on this album, you know, on our album. And it's like, yeah, everybody just really brought a lot.
How do y'all like, I guess pick or just collaborate with artists? Like, how do y'all decide like, hey, this person probably really good for this? Or do y'all hear to be first and then decide? Do you be like, hey, this person, I really want to work with that person, and then and then go from there?
I mean, luckily, like for us, you know, we've gotten to do production for other people too. So oftentimes, like, that'll be a way a relationship starts, you know, where we'll come in to maybe work on somebody else's album or work on a couple tracks for them. I mean, that's like what we did with Khalid. We got brought on to work, you know, on his album American Teen. So that was like his debut, and we just started getting to know him that way, you know, and we worked on a couple things for that, and, you know, sort of helped him kind of like figure out the, the track list order and sort of the overall, presentation and what he was going for. And you just like, you get to know somebody a lot. And so that it just made sense to sort of show him stuff that we were working on. And when you're clicking with somebody, it's like chances are it's like they're going to be into that too. And, he was, and the stuff that we showed him, he just immediately wanted to jump on and write to. So yeah, it's just like, you get to kind of do both, and then it's good because it's not all about like one side or the other, it's like everybody's sort of helping each other out.
Yeah. Just kind of like creating. I mean, and also like when we're choosing, when we're choosing like who we want to get on tracks and stuff, it's like we're just like a fan of a lot of an eclectic group of different types of music, and there's certain voices that really like, Kelly from Wet is a perfect example of like the first time I heard Wet and saw them play live, I was just like, I would love to work with her. That voice, there's something angelic about it. And we were lucky enough to like, she was down when we reached out, and like she came to our studio. And I mean, that's a cool thing. It's like a lot of these relationships then just like build, like they come to our studio and like we just hang out, and it's not even, you don't have great expectations in mind. You don't, you kind of learn that it's just like, let's just make music. And that kind of just goes back to this like, no pressure, no expectation, just make music for the sake of making music, figure out everything later. But it's like, if it's dope, it's dope. And it was, but every certain situations are different, like, it all can kind of change. But, for example, like The Dream was like a person that we met during the Pablo sessions, and that was incredible. And he was really encouraging and, often would check in with us. And then we just had this track with Vori, and like, we were just like thinking about the hook, and it was just like, Vori killed it on these two verses, and we were like, God, the dream would be, for lack of a better word, a dream on this. And we just like, we had his number from the Pablo things, and just like hit him up, and he was like, yes, this is fire. And like literally 2 hours later, you have the Dreams vocals with the lyric. It was just like, that was a dope moment for sure.
I'm such a huge Dream fan. I think that guy's genius. Like,
absolutely.
He's one of the best artists ever. Like, it's
one of the best songwriters. Great.
What was it? Yeah. What is it like? Like, just working with him? Just tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys like him, and then Charlie Wilson to like even more of an extent, who are just so, just kind of like the ultimate like OGs of of their craft. And it's like, you feel it, and you hear it. It's like there's so much so much kind of like precision and expertise and history, and just, I guess, soul, in everything they do. And it's like, I mean, I remember like the first time we went to the studio with Charlie Wilson, like the very first time you heard him get on the mic, and it's just like, oh my God, like this like,
insane.
And it all sort of makes sense. You're like, that's why this guy has like, been, the pro of all pros for, like 40 some odd years. It's like, it's just it's a whole different thing when his voice goes through a microphone. It's like, it's unbelievable.
And so perfect, Sarah, because Dream, Charlie Wilson, they're renowned OGs, wonderful. And then it's funny enough because Condon Khalid, he's like, I listened to his album, and this guy is special.
Yes.
Like, it's really incredible. Like, I was very much apprehensive. I was like, this may be too young for me. He's like an 18-year-old kid. Yeah. But his voice, his songwriting, the melodies, it's really, really like breathtaking.
Oh, totally, man. And that's like, what I was saying too about with Charlie and hearing that for the first time. It's like, you're kind of like in the back of your mind, you're like, damn, like that was amazing. That's like, it's got to be like a once in a lifetime thing. But the wild thing is that over the last like year and a half, it's like, I've had that experience like a lot of times, Khalid's definitely another person like that. It's like Amber Mark is a person like that. It's where, it's just, it's on, they're on a whole different level. And I think it's like, Amber and Khalid are way younger, but it's that same thing where it's just like, they're so natural at what they're doing that it's like, it's flawless.
I think it's awesome that y'all both are very much into the craft and also fans of just like music in general. I think one of the thing that stands out by y'all is that you can touch on all different genres, like a lot of genres, and that's pretty awesome. How did y'all like, I guess, expand the sound and just keep your ear open for new things?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're always listening to stuff, as much as possible, really. So,
and it's just like, it's like a feeling kind of thing. And it like really doesn't matter what genre it is, even if it's like we've been both listening to this like Keith Jarrett solo piano concert, and it's just like, it's raw. It's one guy playing keys, and it's just like the emotion and the feeling in that. And from that to like, whatever, Fleetwood, anything, and then new stuff, it's like you can kind of just whatever. There's a certain feeling that both Sam and I, found ourselves liking and drawn towards when we first started making music. It was just like this natural thing that we were both like searching to express, and then kind of that was happening, and then we can hear that in all these different other sources, and it's like you hear someone else's music and it's like, oh, like they'd be great to work with, or like that would be a dope thing to sample, but let's like get inspired by that, or what I mean? It's just like, it's a difficult thing to explain into words, for sure.
And we're lucky too. I think it's just like our influences and the stuff that we sort of were able to kind of like intake, growing up. It's like, I think for both of us was so varied that, we sort of have like enough of a vocabulary and enough of a, sort of understanding the history of like so many different types of music that it does enable us to like go into a lot of really different rooms and then, take elements of that and bring it somewhere else, and sort of be, just sort of in the middle of a lot of different styles and a lot of different genres. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like we're sort of yet to encounter like a studio, session or feeling where we're, ever feeling like out of place, really, which is like, lucky, really.
Nice. Do you ever sit and like think about like the future of music? Like, hey, what's the music industry gonna look like 10 years from now?
Oh yeah, man, all the time. Like, and it's fascinating, and that's also just so like, I love following that and thinking about that. I mean, we were talking about, I think it was because we were on the way to New York and stuff, and just like talking about like how, fascinating it is to watch like this whole like sort of generation clash with rap in New York, and how like upset sort of the older generation seems, and it's just like, but that stuff's amazing though. It's like, it feels like, when you heard about like, when you were a kid and your parents were maybe like, like stories about their parents, like not like fucking with like the Rolling Stones, or like thinking like the Beatles were like the devil, and when you're a kid and you see the Beatles, you're like, how the hell, like these guys like look lame, like how could like anyone hate that?
People
and
were
stuff, and it's
burning
like
their records. Like it's
cool.
not
it's
a new
like,
thing.
But it's cool to be. It's one thing, about I guess just like growing up and having a little bit more perspective. Like it actually is like fascinating to watch, something like that, and how different people sort of deal with it and react to change. I mean, ultimately, I think it's like you've got to go with it, and the people that do get like really sort of upset about these shifts are like the ones that just get like left behind and sort of just seem like angry and, like they're just not having as much fun,
Do y'all, I had this conversation with a friend. I was like, man, like a couple years from now, when we have kids, like 20 years from now, I'm going to be playing like Dipset and be like, wow, timeless. Do you have like records that's like out now that you can see yourself playing, and like, and what are those records?
It's funny because I talked to my wife. We like started our vinyl collection, like we started over, and it's like for that specific thing in mind. And so we like just get the stuff that like I would like to play our future children, and like, it's stuff like 808s and Heartbreaks, I think, will be like something that will stand the test of time.
Blonde, obviously. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
I just try to limit my vinyl purchases though to things that I know I would like to listen to in 20 years.
But yeah, Blonde's going to be like that record that like, when kids in like, 30, 40 years, like, from like, the middle of nowhere, like start their like freshman year at college, and some like slightly more like cooler on it kid will like put them onto Blonde, like, week
they'll never have heard
college,
anything like
and it'll like, blow their minds.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They'll be like, oh my fucking God, like this is what it's all about, like, I love to think about that. It's so dope, and it's like, and you know, that's the best. That's like what's inspiring. You know, it's like everybody should be trying to make those records, and you know, so few people can. But if that's what you're going for, I think it's like it's a way better place you'll end up in a way better place.
Yeah.
Nice. One thing I definitely wanted to ask is your label merch are like, it's like very much like well known, and so I see it like on Instagram a lot, and it's like it's awesome. How did y'all think of stuff like creative process for that?
I mean, again, like it started as sort of just like a means to like get at, you know, literally like doing like shirts in the beginning was just like a way to like make money to pay for the mastering of like our early releases and stuff like that. So we were really, you know, it was it was just like, it was a way to get out all the ideas more. But we've just, you know, I think we've always been into that, but also like we're lucky enough to work with a lot of really cool people and have some good friends who were helping us out. In the beginning, it was like, you know, just one of my oldest friends, this guy Max, you know, and he helped like design some of the stuff, and you know, it's just like, it's a close friend, you're just on the same page. And so he kind of, you know, he made the stuff just sort of look how the music was sounding, you know, and I think people responded to that because it just wasn't, you know, it was sort of had like feeling, I guess, but was a little rough around the edges and just wasn't overly designed and didn't look like, you know, some graphic designer like did it in, you know,
right.
Photoshop. It was, you know, it was just, Photoshop. It was just, exactly. It was just prints and like more, literally was like more physical, you know, and the music was like that too, you know, just, it didn't feel overly polished, you know?
Last question, advice you would give if you had like, somebody be like, hey, what is the lesson did you learn so far in your life? What would that advice be?
There's no such thing as success. The people that we think are successful don't view themselves as successful. They are all, I mean, I feel like, and that's, you know, success can often lead to complacency, or if you view yourself as successful. So always keep pushing, keep grinding.
Exactly. And that's why you got to just like find your own thing, you know? Because that's kind of that's the only thing that's going to make you happy, I guess.
I think from the opposite, from talking to y'all, I think one of the cool things is that, I guess what I sense is that all this, y'all success or everything that's happening comes from a natural, like y'all just did something y'all thought was cool, and then other people gravitated towards it. I think that's something I feel like people don't understand. Just like you create for yourself and people will come. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's easy to follow trends. You can just look and kind of replicate, but that may leave you creatively unsatisfied, I guess.
Nice. Awesome. Well, this has been great.
Thanks so much. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Excited for the new music, and so cool. Yeah. That's today's episode of Soundcheck. You can check out DJDS Big Wave More Fire album, which is out now. You can listen to more episodes of Soundcheck and keep up with everything HYPEBEAST Radio at hypebeast.com/radio. Subscribe to Soundcheck on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Overcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts on. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at ECM_LP and follow HYPEBEAST Music for more original content and music news. Let us know who you'd like to have on the show, and thank you for listening to Soundcheck.